Hi everyone, I'm Rajesh Pahari and this is my final project presentation for Info 5810 Summer 2020. This is the title of my project and my presentation is named Text Association and K-means Cluster Analysis for Women's Clothing E-Commerce Review. Um, so on the introduction, we are trying to see how what we aim to do with the data set and how we plan to analyze the data set. So like we talked about earlier, we aim to do a data analysis for data sets consisting of customer review on an e-commerce website. We'd be doing that through K-means and text association analysis of the data set. And next thing we do is interpret the results graph seen after the analysis. So dataset file name is Women's Clothing E-commerce Review.csv. I downloaded it from Kaggle. The dataset contains reviews and other information about the reviews by customer on a women's logging clothing e-commerce website. There are 10 attributes and 23,486 rows in the dataset. I selected this because when I looked up for text mining in the Kaggle website, this seems to be one of the very popular data set, and also it contains more than 10,000 rows, and which is ideal for our case because the requirement was that we need to have at least like 6,000 and maximum of like 10,000 rows. So on the data dictionary, these are the several attributes that we're seeing over there. The important among them is the review text. That's the actual review provided by the customer for the purchase. And we have rating, we have like recommend IND, that is 0 when the reviewer recommends not to buy that item, and 1 when the reviewer recommends to buy that item. And yeah, we have a few more attributes as well. And let's talk about the data cleaning portion. So on the data cleaning, I removed all rows that have any missing values for any attribute. And for that, I use the find and select feature of Excel. Then I removed the columns for division name and department because it didn't sound like they would be needed. And also next thing I needed to do was I need to select more than 10,000 rows, less than 10,000 rows. So the one way to achieve that would be by selecting 40% of each rows for each kind of ratings. And I found that process to be a little tedious in Excel. So I decided to use, Python modules from where I sampled 40% of rows. And then I exported the new data set into a new CSV file. What are our data analysis goals and analysis methods? The first goal is to find any association relationship in the words that are used by the customer to review the product. So that's done by using text association analysis. The next one is to identify the clusters for different words used by the customers in reviewing the products they bought. So the method used was K-means cluster analysis. Now let's talk about the text mining. So text mining, it aims to extract useful information from the text. A lot of unstructured text data is produced every moment. So text mining algorithms and processes can utilize text useful information on those data set. Like you talked about it earlier, text association analysis and K-means cluster analysis can be two ways of doing that, and there are several more as well. Text analysis, text association analysis is a way of text mining where we try to measure how the text within the dataset are related, or in other words, identify the pattern associated with the text within the dataset. K-means clustering algorithm creates K clusters out of n objects in the dataset. In object, each object in the cluster consists of objects that are nearest to each other based on the algorithm. So this is our design diagram or the process diagram on the Rapid Miner. So we get the database that was exported from Python. I replace the missing values. I select the review text as the attribute to be used, and I use the process document operator within which, like, we have several operators. The last of them is the tokenizer. So that tokenizer, it is fed into multiply. The reason I'm using that is I want to provide the same tokens into for cluster analysis as well as for association analysis. And eventually, those tokens are passed on to those association and clustering operators. And at the end of clustering operator, we have the performance operator, and we can see, once we run the process, we can see the results and the graphs associated with them. This is text association rules that we are able to see on the results section for text association analysis. We could see that the only rules we found were for the conclusion word dress. Um, so in the table, we see the reference to support. Support means percentage when the conclusion word was followed by the premise. And confidence refers to the confidence in terms of support. Uh, if you look at rule 3 for size leading to dress, the analysis shows that 71% confidence um, that occurrence of size is followed by occurrence of dress. The same thing could be looked at visually, and we call it text association rule graph. And over here, we see like those several premises leading to the conclusion word dress. We looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 premise words leading to the conclusion word dress. And we see the rule numbers and support and confidence laid out. For example, rule 7 for flattering to dress indicates that with 41% confidence, we could say 12.4% of all mentions of word flattering was followed by the word dress. Now let's talk about the k-means cluster analysis findings. So one of the result is the performance vector that we can see over there. So it shows the average within centroid distance for each of the clusters. So it's preferable that each word in a particular cluster has least amount of distance from its cluster centroid, while it has a large distance from the centroid from another cluster. So yeah, we could see over here, we could see the distances from the centroid. And likewise, on this particular table, we can see, which text is associated with which cluster, and likewise, which word is associated with which cluster. So let's talk about the skill learned and used on this project. So utilizing search and find to remove any rows with missing data, Python libraries to filter, to sample the rows, and to export thus created data set. And likewise, using several RapidMiner operators for k-means clustering and text association analysis. And also, I was able to see we only saw the rules for the conclusion word trace. That is because it looks like higher minimum confidence would result to a smaller subset of association group list. Thank you so much for being with me throughout the presentation. That's the end of my conclusion.